The stagecoach rattled down the dusty road, each wheel thudding against the ruts as though announcing bad news. 3 girls sat inside, silent except for the occasional sniffle from the youngest. Clara, the eldest, kept her arms wrapped around the 2 younger sisters, her chin held high as if pride alone could shield them from the world. Anna, 14, stared out the window, face pale, jaw tight. She hadn't spoken since yesterday. Little Sophie, only 8, leaned against Clara's shoulder, clutching a ragged doll as though it were the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Their father had been gone nearly a month now, a fever that swept through the valley and left too many graves behind. With no mother and no family willing to take them, they'd been put on the stagecoach and sent to a town none of them had ever seen, to live with a distant cousin who'd agreed to take them in. Except when they arrived, no one was waiting. Clara stepped down from the coach, her boots crunching in the dirt. The town's main street was quiet except for a few curious glances from the saloon porch. The driver shrugged. "That's the end of the line, miss." And then he was gone, leaving a cloud of dust behind him. Clara's heart pounded. She couldn't let her sisters see her fear. She squared her shoulders and took their hands. That was when she saw him, leaning against the hitching post outside the feed store. A tall cowboy with a weathered hat pulled low, arms crossed, a quiet watchfulness about him. Their eyes met for a moment before Clara looked away. She had no use for strangers, especially men, but there was something about him. Not pity, not curiosity, just steady. "Looks like you 3 are stranded." Clara spun around. The cowboy had crossed the street and now stood a few paces away, hat in hand. His voice was low, careful, as though he knew one wrong word might send her running. "We'll manage," Clara said, forcing her voice to stay firm. He glanced at the girls, his eyes softening at the sight of Sophie's tear-streaked face. "Name's Luke Callahan. Got a ranch about 5 miles west of here." "We don't need charity," Clara shot back, heat rising to her cheeks. He nodded slowly. "I didn't say you did. Just saying it's near dark and this town ain't got room for 3 girls to sleep safe tonight. You can take the spare cabin on my land." Just for the night, Clara hesitated. Everything about him seemed honest, but trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Anna spoke for the first time in 2 days. "Clara, please. I don't want to sleep in the street." Clara's heart twisted. She nodded once, still wary, but with no other choice. Luke's ranch was quiet except for the soft lowing of cattle somewhere beyond the barn. The spare cabin was small but clean, a potbelly stove, 2 narrow bunks, and a table with mismatched chairs. "It ain't much," Luke said, setting down a lantern, "but it's dry and safe." "You'll have to share bunks," Clara nodded stiffly. "Thank you." He tipped his hat about to leave, then hesitated. "There's stew in the house. I can bring some by." Clara's pride warred with hunger, but before she could refuse, Sophie's stomach growled loud enough to make Anna snicker. Clara sighed. "Thank you," she said again, quieter this time. Luke returned with steaming bowls of venison stew. The girls ate quickly, the warmth of the food thawing something in Clara's chest she hadn't realized had gone cold. When Luke finally left, Sophie whispered, "He's nice." Clara said nothing, but she couldn't deny it. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of shouting. She rushed outside, heart hammering. Luke stood near the corral, facing 2 men on horseback. "You owe us for that bull," one of them sneered. Luke's voice stayed calm. "That bull broke my fence. If anything, you owe me." One man spat in the dirt. "We'll be back, Callahan. Maybe next time we take more than your cattle." When they rode off, Clara stepped closer. "Who are they?" "Trouble," Luke said simply. "And they just made it mine again." Clara felt a chill despite the morning sun. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Clara found Luke mending the fence by lantern light. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. He didn't look up from his work. "Because I know what it's like to be left with nothing. Someone helped me once. Figured it's my turn." Clara swallowed hard. For the first time in weeks, she let herself believe they might actually be safe. Weeks passed. The girls laughed again, helped with chores, and the cabin began to feel like a home. One evening, after a long day of mending fences, Luke found Clara sitting by the corral, watching the sun sink behind the hills. "You've done a good job here," he said quietly. "So have you," she replied, smiling faintly. "You took in 3 strangers and gave them a place to belong." Luke hesitated, then said, "Maybe I needed you here as much as you needed me." Clara's breath caught. She hadn't let herself think about what she felt. Not really. But looking at him now, dusty and tired and good, she knew. Luke knelt down so he was eye level with her. Clara, I can't promise much. I'm just a man trying to keep this ranch running. But if you'd stay, all of you, I swear I'll spend every day trying to make this place a real home. Clara's throat tightened. For the first time since her father died, she felt tears of relief instead of grief. Yes, she whispered. The ranch became more than just a place to stay. It became theirs. Anna began drawing again. Sophie planted flowers near the cabin. Clara learned to smile without forcing it. And Luke? He no longer ate dinner alone. They were no longer three girls looking for a home. They were a family. It was well past midnight when Clara woke to the smell of smoke. Anna! Sophie! She cried, shaking her sisters awake. They tumbled out of bed as flames lit up the window. The barn was on fire. Clara ran outside, heart hammering. Luke was already there, boots pounding through the dirt, pulling water from the well. Stay by the cabin, he shouted, but Clara didn't stay. She grabbed a bucket and joined him, passing water up to where Luke was fighting the flames. Together they worked until the fire was just smoldering embers. Luke's face was black with soot, his shirt soaked with sweat. Clara's hands shook as she set the bucket down. They did this, didn't they? She asked. Luke's jaw tightened. Yeah, Clara stepped closer, eyes blazing. Then we fight back. You're not alone anymore. Luke looked at her, really looked, and something in his expression softened. A week later, trouble came back. This time Luke was ready. He stood in the middle of the yard, rifle in hand. Clara stood on the porch, holding Sophie close, Anna clutching her arm. You had your fun, Luke called, but you won't scare us off. The men laughed until Clara stepped forward, her voice steady. This is our home now, she said, and we're not running. Something in her tone must have struck them, because after a long, tense moment, the men turned and rode away, muttering curses but not looking back. Luke lowered the rifle and let out a slow breath. You were brave, he told Clara later. She smiled faintly. I had something to fight for. Spring brought green grass and wildflowers across the hills. Clara hung fresh laundry on the line while Anna and Sophie played nearby. Luke rode in from the far pasture, dismounted, and walked toward her. You know, he said, this place has never felt this alive before. Clara looked around. The cabin, the flowers Sophie planted, the sound of Anna laughing, and felt something deep and warm bloom in her chest. Maybe, she said softly, because it finally has a family. Luke reached for her hand, rough and calloused but gentle. You think, he asked carefully, you might ever let me call you mine? Clara met his gaze, the wind tugging her hair across her face. I think you already do. The sisters ran up just then, Sophie holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Luke took one, tucking it gently behind Clara's ear. The ranch wasn't just a home anymore. It was the place where love had finally taken root.
Like, share, and subscribe.